Hello, you're watching DD India. I am Preeti. With me is Rukma, and we welcome you to Breakfast News. And to the entire nation, we extend our greetings on the occasion of Vijay Dashmi today, the festival marking the victory of good over evil. With that, we also tell you that it's the comprehensive show, the first comprehensive show of the morning we get for you every day to make sure you keep yourself abreast with everything that's making it to the headlines. We'll get you everything, national headlines, international updates, updates from the world of business, sports, enough to keep you engaged right in the morning to make sure your tea or coffee tastes even better.
A very good morning to you,
good morning,
Preeti,
Rukma.
and greetings from me as well on behalf of all of us here in DD India on the occasion of Vijay Dashami. And for news that shapes your day, we'll be telling you all about the dedication to the nation of 7 new defense companies carved out of the Ordnance Factory Board to be done by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Also, other important stories where all the COVID updates, news from sports, business, and much more. But first, here are the headlines.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi to dedicate to the nation 7 new defense companies carved out of Ordnance Factory Board. The move will bring in efficiency and competitiveness in the defense manufacturing sector.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman at 8th ministerial meeting of India-US Economic and Financial Partnership calls for continued cooperation in tackling money laundering and terror financing.
India's COVID vaccination drive on in full stream. More than 97 crore doses administered. India set to reach 100 crore mark in October. More than 30 countries grant recognition to Covaxin.
India re-elected to UN Human Rights Council for 2022-24 term with overwhelming majority in General Assembly. Re-election a robust endorsement of our democratic ethos.
Six people killed and 32 others injured by gunfire in the Lebanese capital Beirut as at a protest against the judge investigating last year's huge blast at the city's port.
United States FDA advisors unanimously vote to recommend booster shots of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for Americans over 65 years and other high-risk people.
In sports, final match of IPL 2021 will be played at Dubai International Stadium today, where Chennai Super Kings will take on Kolkata Knight Riders.
And Dussehra marking the victory of good over evil being celebrated across the country today. President Ramnath Kovind will celebrate Dussehra with the Indian Army soldiers deployed in Ladakh's Dras area.
Alright, those are the top stories. Let's get to the news in detail now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will dedicate to the nation 7 new defense companies carved out of the Ordnance Factory Board. Defense Minister, Minister of State for Defense and representatives from the Defense Industry Associations will be present on the occasion. The government has decided to convert Ordnance Factory Board from a government department into 700% government-owned corporate entities as a measure to improve self-reliance in the defense preparedness of the country. Now, this move will bring about enhanced functional autonomy, efficiency, and will also unleash new growth potential and innovation.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also perform the Bhumi Pujan ceremony of Hostel Phase 1 Boys Hostel constructed by Saurashtra Patel Seva Samaj in Surat. The hostel building has residential facilities for nearly 1,500 students. It also contains an auditorium and a dedicated library for students. Construction of Hostel Phase 2 to accommodate around 500 girls will start from next year. Saurashtra Patel Seva Samaj is a registered and established trust from 1983, the main objective of which is educational and social transformation of the weaker sections of society. It helps in preparing students for various competitive exams and also provides them with a platform for entrepreneurship and skill development.
And up next, we get to an update on the nationwide COVID vaccination drive. India's COVID vaccination coverage has achieved 97 crore landmark. Over 97.11 crore vaccine doses have been administered across the country so far, out of which more than 27 lakh vaccine doses were administered till Thursday, 7 p.m.
India is marching ahead with another achievement in the fight against COVID-19. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia in a tweet said the nation is rapidly approaching the 100 crore vaccination mark. The Health Minister, while launching a coffee table book on COVID warriors, said the 100 crore target is expected to be achieved by the 18th of October or the 19th. Talking to the media, Mandavia said after 100 crore vaccine doses is achieved, the government will go in mission mode to ensure that those who have taken their first dose take their second dose too, to ensure they are protected against COVID.
More than 30 countries have granted recognition to co-vaccines so far. Countries that have agreed on mutual recognition with India include the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Nepal, Belarus, Lebanon, Armenia, Ukraine, Belgium, Hungary and Serbia. Meanwhile, Foreign Secretary expressed hope that World Health Organization will grant emergency use approval to India's co-vaccine soon.
This matter is before WHO. It is a technical process. It is not an administrative process. It is not a political process. There is a technical committee that evaluates the submissions made by Bharat Biotech, which manufactures Covaxin. They have asked some questions and I believe some answers have been given. I am sure the approval of Covaxin from WHO will come as soon as possible.
The Tamil Nadu government has extended the ongoing lockdown in the state with further relaxations till the 31st of October. The relaxation comes into effect immediately, and they include reopening of religious sites for worship on all days, including weekends, while all shops and restaurants will be allowed to function till 11 p.m. State Chief Minister has said that standard operating procedures should be followed by all during the festive season. From the 1st of November, schools and Anganwadis will be allowed to function for all classes. As per the guidelines, school authorities will have to ensure caretakers and workers are fully vaccinated. Sea beaches can also open from the 1st of November. However, only 50 people will be allowed to attend funerals, while 100 can take part in wedding functions. A ban on political, social, cultural events will remain and will continue till further orders.
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who was on a week-long trip to the US, and the United States Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen met on Thursday at Washington, D.C. for the 8th ministerial meeting of the India-US Economic and Financial Partnership. The 8th India-US Economic and Financial Partnership marks the growing importance of the India-US partnership in the 21st century. It serves as the framework to cement the economic bonds between the two vibrant democracies and build foundation for greater cooperation and economic growth in the future. Both the leaders discussed a range of subjects, including the macroeconomic outlook and recovery from the pandemic. financial, regulatory and technical collaboration, multilateral engagement, climate finance and anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and US Treasury Secretary Yellen affirmed their commitment to continue engagements both bilaterally and multilaterally to address global economic issues. The importance of fighting illicit finance and the need for continued cooperation in tackling money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism was also underpinned by Union Finance Minister and US Treasury Secretary during the meeting. Both the countries agreed on further engagements on emerging financial sector topics such as cross-border payments and payment systems and development of the International Financial Services Center.
And the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also attended the IMF breakfast session at the IMF headquarters in Washington, D.C. on Thursday, stating we should freely and openly share medical research and develop adaptive, responsive, affordable and accessible healthcare systems, she said. The Finance Minister also conveyed that a policy package of an unprecedented scale by the Government of India, including fiscal, monetary and financial measures, provided support to save lives and protect livelihood activities. Sitharaman stated that India has also continued its agenda of structural reforms during the pandemic. Wide-ranging reforms, including in the sectors of agriculture, labor and asset monetization, are expected to contribute towards acceleration of the economy.
Home Minister Amit Shah is on his visit to the Union Territory of Andaman and Nicobar. On his visit, the Home Minister will visit cellular jail at Port Blair and pay respects to the revolutionary freedom fighter Veer Savarkar. Besides this, the Home Minister is also expected to flag off the Go-Go bus service for tourists from the port. Also, he is expected to engage with party workers and attend other programs during his visit. All right, to get us more on that, our correspondent Meghna is joining us. Meghna, we tell our viewers that Home Minister Amit Shah is on a visit to the Union Territory of Andaman and Nicobar. Spell out more about his engagements there.
Yes, Preeti, when we actually talk about the engagements, the first is going to be here at the cellular jail in Port Blair, where he will pay homage to freedom fighter Veer Savarkar and actually salute the undaunted spirit of the firebrand revolutionaries who fought against the brutalities of the British barbarism. So here, this will be his first engagement. After that, very importantly, he is going to at the flag point, just very near to the cellular jail, and there he is going to flag off the Go-Go bus service, which is part of a smart city project, and that Go-Go bus service will be there for tourists. These are electric buses that have capacity of about 30 to 32 passengers, and it's going to be very helpful for the tourists to get around and to know the place. So these are, the events are a kind of part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which is being celebrated across the country and also across the globe, at many embassies. So what we also see is that the Home Minister is going to, address here at the cellular jail is what is expected. And besides that, also he has other engagements, in the upcoming days of his visit. So in other engagements, he is also expected to, speak to the Karyakartas who are here and probably see some developmental projects around the place. So, there are major engagements here on the developmental front and also on obviously the celebrations of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav that are underway. Besides that, also very importantly, the Go-Go bus service basically, which we'll be seeing today later in the evening, that he will flag off. That is going to be very important, and tourists are also very enthralled that there is going to be a bus service that will take them around major tourist spots in the place. So definitely a very important visit, and we'll have to see, what are more of his engagements that we come across during his visit.
Right, Meghna, you mentioned the Go-Go bus service and how tourists are very enthusiastic about it. Tourism being one of the hardest hit of economic sectors. Give us a sense of how it is being revived there in Port Blair, the impact it has had, and the road ahead as it seems now.
Yes, Rukma, what we actually see is when we yesterday were speaking to some tourists, and we were they were telling us that the Go-Go bus service, and especially we were also speaking to some locals here. They also told that in the past some time, definitely the Union Territory has seen a lot of developmental projects coming in, especially in the sector of smart city. And when we see the roads and the tourist connectivity that has increased, the tourist footfall has also increased. Though there are very strict COVID guidelines that are to be followed here. The tourists, the double vaccinated tourists are allowed in here, and the people who are not vaccinated or have a single dose of vaccine have to carry an RT-PCR report and also have to get an RT-PCR done after arrival here. So definitely very important guidelines also in place to also, besides having the tourist footfall, to check on the COVID situation as well. So what we also see is when we, Rukma, actually talk about the developmental smart city projects, besides that also the kind of electric buses that are plying on the roads of Port Blair or roads of the city. So that actually talks more about going on the sustainable side of energy. And when we also see that the Home Minister is going to flag these off, besides that he's also going to, it is expected that he would, take stock of some developmental projects around the city. So we'll have to see, what will be those developmental projects, and probably some development projects that are underway that also he'll take a stock for the progress of.
All right, Meghna, thank you so much for joining in with those inputs. That was our correspondent, Meghna, spelling out more on the engagements of Union Home Minister in Andaman and Nicobar. We'll keep you updated. Let's turn focus to other news now.
Well, India has been re-elected to the Human Rights Council for 2022-24 for a 6th term with overwhelming majority. The permanent mission of India to the United Nations expressed gratitude to the UN membership for reposing its faith in India. Our permanent missions has said that India will continue to work for promotion and protection of human rights through Samman, Samvad and Sahyog.
India received 184 of the 193 votes that were cast in the election. This year, a total of 18 seats were up for election under the rotating membership system with 3-year terms on the 47 UN member council. Countries needed a minimum of 97 votes to get elected to the council. India's permanent representative to the United Nations, T.S. Tirumurti, expressed pride at India getting re-elected to the United Nations Human Rights Council for a 6th term with an overwhelming majority. Ambassador T.S. Tirumurti called it a proud day for the country. He thanked colleagues of all UN member states for their support.
And as part of the ongoing Indo-US Defense Cooperation, the Joint Military Training Exercise, Ex-Yudh Abhyas 2021 will be conducted at Joint Base Elmendorf, Richardson, Alaska from the 15th to the 29th of October 2021. The contingent, comprising 350 personnel of an infantry battalion group, departed on Thursday. Exercise Yudh Abhyas is the largest running joint military training and defense cooperation endeavor between India and the US. This will be the 17th edition of the joint exercise, hosted alternately between the two countries. The previous version of the exercise was held at Mahajan Field Firing Ranges in Bikaner in Rajasthan in February 2021. This exercise is another step in the growing military cooperation between the two countries. It aims at enhancing understanding, cooperation and interoperability between the two armies. The joint exercise will focus on combined arms maneuvers in cold climatic conditions and is primarily aimed at sharing tactical level drills and learning best practices from each other. It will culminate after a 48-hour-long validation.
And up next, we get to the saga of freedom, a report we get for you every day in our mission to honor those who sacrifice their lives for independence of our nation, our freedom fighters and our heroes. And in today's episode, we will take a look at the life of unsung revolutionary freedom fighter Durga Devi Vohra, as today is the day when the great leader passed away. Let's know more about such towering personalities as well.
In today's episode, we are paying tributes to the great but unsung revolutionary freedom fighter Durga Devi Vohra, also known as Durgavati Devi, who left us on 15 October in 1999. She was a key member of Chandrasekhar Azad and Bhagat Singh's Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, HSRA.
Another association member, Bhagwati Charan Vohra, was her husband, and hence the association members used to call her Bhabhi, and she became popular as Durga Bhabhi in Indian revolutionary circles. At that time, she was one of the few women revolutionaries who actively participated in the armed revolution against the ruling British Raj.
After Saunders's assassination on 17th of December 1928, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru came to Durga Devi for help. She not only gave them a large sum of money, rather daringly agreed to help them escape Lahore. She posed as the wife of Bhagat Singh and put her infant son Sachin in his lap while Rajguru carried their luggage as their servant.
They passed fearlessly through a police cordon and boarded a first-class train carriage for Lucknow, where they changed trains for Calcutta. In order to avoid recognition, Bhagat Singh had shaved off his beard and cut his hair short the previous day and dressed in a Western attire.
After attending some sessions of the Calcutta Congress, Durga Devi returned to Lahore with her son. In April 1929, Bhagat Singh and his associate Batukeshwar Dutt set off 2 low-intensity homemade bombs among some unoccupied benches of the Central Legislative Assembly.
In Lahore, investigators discovered the HSRA's bomb factory in Kashmir House, which was rented out in Durga Bhabhi's husband Bhagwati Charan's name. They arrested Sukhdev, Jai Gopal and Kishori Lal, but Bhagwati Charan managed to go into hiding.
During this period, Durga Devi supported the families of revolutionaries in Lahore and helped in passing on letters for absconding revolutionaries. She led the funeral procession of revolutionary Jatin Das from Lahore to Calcutta after his death in a 63-day jail hunger strike. She was also involved in the procurement of weapons for the revolutionaries around this time.
In 1929, Bhagwati Charan and Durga Devi were involved in a plot with Chandrasekhar Azad, Yashpal and Vaishampayan to free Bhagat Singh from prison by raiding a police van during his transfer from Borstad to Central Jail in Lahore.
On 28th May 1930, Bhagwati Charan died when he was testing a bomb in a forest and it exploded prematurely in his hand. Following her husband's death, Durga Devi was constantly on the move, staying one step ahead of police.
When Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru were awarded the death sentence, Durga Devi attempted to kill Lord Haley, an ex-governor of Punjab and a staunch enemy of revolutionaries. Although Haley escaped, his several associates died. Durga Devi was caught by the British police and imprisoned for 3 years.
After independence, Durga Devi started living as a common citizen in quiet anonymity in Ghaziabad. She later opened a school for poor children in Lucknow. She died in Ghaziabad on October the 15th, 1999 at the age of 92.
Her courage and fearlessness were indeed like Durga Ma, as she fought against the evil British imperialist forces to free her motherland from foreign rule.
And here in Breakfast News, it's time for a short break, but there's more up ahead. Stay tuned and keep watching DD India.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India.
Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Mui
Nous
India.
sommes land.
Nahnu hunud.
India.
Ma Hindi hasti.
Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching Breakfast News, and up next we get to updates from the world from across the world in our segment Across the Globe.
And at least 6 Lebanese Shiites were killed and several others were injured in gunfire in Lebanon's capital Beirut. The visuals show an uncanny calm in the streets, and then suddenly bullet shots were heard after people started to run for safety. Protesters were seen hurling rocks on streets surrounded by smoke. The shooting left behind chaos with damaged shops, bullets in the streets and destroyed cars. Authorities say the attack was on protesters who were to participate in a demonstration called by Hezbollah to demand the removal of the judge investigating last year's devastating port explosion in Beirut, which killed over 200 people. The military deployed tanks and troops to quell the street battles that sparked memories of the 1975 to 1990 civil war and highlights a deepening crisis over the probe into the August 2020 blast that is undermining government efforts to tackle one of the most dramatic economic meltdowns in history. The army deployed heavily in Tayuneh area and was seen patrolling the area, said it would open fire against any armed person on the road.
At a school nearby the shooting site, teachers instructed children and other students to lie face down on the ground with their hands on their heads. Those injured in the incident were also rushed to the hospitals to get timely treatment.
Meanwhile, the Lebanese president said those responsible for the country's worst street violence in more than a decade would be held accountable. He said the government will not allow anyone to take the country hostage in their own interests.
Lebanon's Prime Minister also said that violence on Thursday was a setback for the country, but it would be overcome. He added that his cabinet was working to provide the International Monetary Fund with necessary financial figures ahead of talks to pull the country out of its economic meltdown. The Prime Minister also called for calm and in a tweet announced that Friday would be a day of public mourning for the lives of those killed in violence.
And in Norway, a bow and arrow attack in which a Danish convert to Islam is suspected of killing 5 people appears to have been an act of terror. Police named the suspect as Espen Andersen Brathen, a 37-year-old living in the Kongsberg municipality where the attack took place on Wednesday evening. A police attorney said that Brathen had acknowledged killing the victims. The suspect's lawyer has confirmed that Brathen was cooperating with police and giving a detailed statement. Police were concerned about signs of radicalization in the suspect before the attacks carried out with a bow and arrow and other weapons. Meanwhile, Brathen is in custody and believed to have acted alone. A court will decide on Friday how long police can keep him in custody.
Meanwhile, Norwegian Prime Minister condemned on Thursday the horrible and cruel bow and arrow attack in Kongsberg in which 5 people were killed. Speaking on his first day in office after winning an election last month, he said that the attack highlights the fact that preparedness is the joint task for a society.
And in the United States, a White House commission has agreed that that Congress has the legal power to expand the Supreme Court, but the group was divided on whether lawmakers should actually do it. That's according to draft discussion materials released on Thursday by the White House, which asked 30-odd experts with considering an array of possible reforms to the 9-member High Court. The White House Commission studying potential changes to the U.S. Supreme Court said expanding the number of justices would pose considerable risks and might further politicize the court. Members of the commission formed by President Joe Biden appeared more positive about the benefits of imposing term limits and staggering appointments out over time, but they noted it might not be possible to make such a change without amending the U.S. Constitution. The documents are to be used as a source of debate by members of the commission who are holding a meeting on Friday and will prepare a report for Biden and turn it over to him by mid-November.
And up next, we take a look at COVID numbers from across the globe. The COVID numbers have crossed 24 crore mark. With the spike in Delta variant, various countries in the world are witnessing a surge in the daily new cases again. So far, over 24 crore, 3 lakh people across the world have been infected by the virus, while more than 21 crore, 76 lakh patients have recovered from it. The virus has claimed over 48 lakh 76,000 lives worldwide. The United States remains the worst affected country. It is witnessing spike in daily new cases due to the Delta variant, and over 4 crore 56 lakh people in the US have been infected by it, while more than 7 lakh 41,000 people have died due to the virus.
A panel of expert advisors to the US Food and Drug Administration unanimously voted on Thursday to recommend booster shots of Moderna Inc.'s COVID-19 vaccine for Americans aged 65 and older and those at high risk of severe illness or occupational exposure to the virus. If the FDA signs off on Moderna's booster, the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will make specific recommendations on who should get the shots. Meanwhile, CDC advisors are scheduled to meet next week. The FDA's Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee met on Thursday to consider the additional dose of the Moderna vaccine and will weigh whether to make a similar recommendation for Johnson & Johnson's vaccine on Friday. The vote to back Moderna's booster was 19-0. Moderna is seeking authorization of a booster that contains 50 micrograms of the vaccine, half of the strength of its regular dose, but still higher than the Pfizer-BioNTech shot using similar technology at 30 micrograms.
US COVID-19 case rates are declining in 39 states, and also the number of unvaccinated people has declined to 66 million. Now, this was announced by US President Joe Biden, who praised his plan of introducing vaccine mandates for federal workers and big companies. Biden has credited his path out of the pandemic plan and the administration's urgent push for vaccine requirements. He also praised the continuing work on booster shots as the FDA Advisory Committee reviewed data on Moderna booster doses. The vaccination rates against COVID in the United States has risen by more than 20 percentage points after multiple institutions adopted vaccine requirements in recent months. While case numbers and deaths from the virus are down, the United States still tops the chart of worst affected nations by COVID-19. Over 4 crore 56 lakh 32,000 people in the country have been infected by the virus, while more than 7,41,000 Americans have died due to it.
More international news. Russia will hold Afghanistan talks in Moscow on the 20th of October. This will be the first meeting of the Moscow format since the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. The Moscow format was launched in 2017 as a six-party mechanism for consultations between representatives of Afghanistan, China, Pakistan, Iran, India and Russia. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said that India will participate in the Moscow format meeting on Afghanistan.
Received an invitation for the Moscow format meeting on Afghanistan on October 20th. We will be participating in it. I don't have a final confirmation who will be attending, but it's likely that we will have it at the Joint Secretary level.
Also on humanitarian assistance to Afghanistan, he said that India's policy towards Afghanistan is guided by friendship with Afghan people. He said that India has in the past provided assistance both for infrastructure as well as assistance otherwise also.
And now for the latest updates on the Cumbre Vieja volcano in La Palma. Red hot lava overflowed from the main cone of the volcano on Thursday again. Volcanic activity is in its fourth week and there has been no end in sight to the eruptions. Authorities expect the lava flow to advance to the northwest beyond the boundary of the evacuated area. Most people in the area have been evacuated. Lava from the eruption has laid waste to nearly 600 hectares in total, destroying nearly 1,500 homes and other buildings. Earlier on Thursday, a 4.5 magnitude earthquake rocked the island. Since before the eruption, tremors were registered constantly in La Palma.
All right, now we're again heading for a short break. You're watching Breakfast News. When we come back, we'll get you updates from the world of business. Stay with us.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. Let's get you updates from the world of business now.
And we begin BizBuzz with news from the international market. The US stocks ended in the green as companies including Morgan Stanley and United Health gained following strong results. The data on the labor market and inflation also helped soothe worries about the outlook for higher rates The S&P 500 gained 74.35 points or 1.70% to end at 4,438.15 points. The Nasdaq Composite gained 248.97 points or 1.71% to 14,824.90. And the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 432.21 points or 1.55% to 34,910.02.
And now we turn focus to sports. In cricket, Chennai Super Kings are all set to lock horns with Kolkata Knight Riders in the final of the 2021 IPL at Dubai International Cricket Stadium. The Knight Riders, captained by Eoin Morgan, have managed to qualify for the IPL final 7 years after the 2014 edition. If numbers are anything to go by, then CSK, in their astonishing 9th final appearance in 12 editions, are certain to start favourites against Kolkata Knight Riders on the Dussehra day. But in terms of trophies, there isn't much of a difference. CSK have 3 titles with 5 final defeats, while KKR have won both their finals under Gautam Gambhir. No team has mastered the art of reaching finals like Dhoni's CSK.
And time now to take stock of what's trending on the World Wide Web in our next segment, the Web News Review.
And Abhishek is all set with the Web News Review. Abhishek, good morning. Let us know what all have you picked up for us this morning.
Morning, Preeti. Good morning, Rithma. The first news that I'm bringing to you is from the Indian Express, which has made headline of India accepts Russia's invite for talks with Taliban next week. Yesterday, during the MEA briefing, MEA spokesperson said about this that Russia has invited India for this talk where Taliban will also be participating. The next newspaper is The Hindu, which has made headline of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's US visit, where there was a meeting of IMF and other stakeholders. Which the headline says policy support and COVID-19 vaccination differences causing uneven recovery. IMF Governing Committee. We should remember that IMF has recently upgraded India's GDP growth and said that India is going to have a better growth trajectory due to containing COVID pandemic in due course of time. The next newspaper is The Times of India, which has made news of half of Uttar Pradesh districts are now COVID-free. Officials have said that 41 districts have 0 active cases, attributing the success to UP strategy. The next newspaper is again Hindustan Times, which has been, which says not just UK, over 30 nations now recognize India's COVID-19 vaccine certificate. That includes, apart from Britain, 30 countries have accepted. However, these are few countries, the South Africa, Brazil, Bangladesh, and China, from COVID-19 protocol. So, Indian people vaccinated with Indian vaccine will also have now basically go and operate. This was all from today's Web News Review. Back to you, Rukma and Preeti, for further updates.
All right, Abhishek. Thank you for joining in with that Web News Review.
And it's Dussehra today, also celebrated as Vijay Dashami across the nation. It is a festival signifying victory of good over evil. The annual festival, which is celebrated on the 10th day of Navratra, signifies Lord Ram's victory over Ravan. It also marks the end of Ram Leela, a brief retelling of the story of Ram, Sita and Lakshman. On the Dussehra, towering effigies of the demon king Ravan, Kumbhakarn and Meghnad symbolic of evil, are burnt down with fireworks, reminding onlookers that no matter what, good always triumphs. Although the enthusiasm is high among the public as always, celebrations are low-key this year too due to the COVID pandemic.
And President Ramnath Kovind and Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu greeted the nation on the eve of Dussehra. The President in his message said that Vijay Dashmi is celebrated to mark the victory of good over evil. He said that the persona of Lord Ram and his righteous conduct as Maryada Purushottam is an ideal for all. He hoped that this festival strengthens the moral foundation of the society and also inspires all citizens to work for nation building. Vice President in his message said that the Dussehra is an occasion to remind everyone of the need to constantly quell the demonic forces and foster goodness and harmony. He hoped that the festival brings in peace, harmony and prosperity in the country. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended greetings and good wishes on the occasion of Vijay Dashmi.
And President Ramnath Kovind will celebrate Dussehra with Jawans at Dras in Ladakh today. President Kovind is on a two-day visit to Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. On the second day of his visit today, the President will lay the wreath at the Kargil War Memorial in Dras. He will also interact with troops at the memorial. The President, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, will participate in Vijay Dashmi celebrations with Shastra Puja at the memorial. Earlier on Thursday, the President interacted with troops along with their families in the Northern Command in Udhampur in Jammu and Kashmir. He extended best wishes to the soldiers on the occasion of Dussehra.
RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat today performed Shastra Puja at the annual Vijay Dashmi festival in Maharashtra's Nagpur. Vijay Dashmi holds a special importance for the Chalaks as RSS was found on this day in 1925 by Dr. Hedgewar. However, amidst the ongoing COVID pandemic, the RSS has decided to refrain from inviting any chief guests for the annual Vijay Dashmi address.
And today is also the birth anniversary of former Indian President APJ Abdul Kalam. He was a teacher. He will always be revered as a great teacher, scientist, author, eloquent speaker whose life and work are a treasure that he has left behind. His contributions to society have been enormous. Kalam served as the 11th President of India between 2002 and 2007.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tribute to the People's President, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, on his birth anniversary. Sharing old pictures with the President, Prime Minister said that he is known as the Missile Man. Dr. Kalam has dedicated his life in making India strong, prosperous and capable. The Prime Minister added that Dr. Kalam will always remain a source of inspiration for the countrymen.
World Students' Day is also celebrated on the birth anniversary of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. The United Nations has declared the day on October 15, 2010. The day aims to acknowledge the efforts of APJ Abdul Kalam towards education and students.
And now we take a look at the weather report.
The satellite picture shows rainfall intensity very likely under the influence, light to moderate rains at most places with isolated thunderstorm. Very likely over Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the next 2 days. Rainfall intensity very likely to increase over East India and Central India from today, with isolated heavy falls over Bihar on the 18th and 19th, over Gangetic West Bengal on 17th to 19th, over Odisha on 16th, and over central coastal Andhra Pradesh and Yanam on 15th and 16th October. And another low pressure area is lying over Lakshadweep and adjoining Southeast Arabian Sea. An east-west trough runs roughly over the area, very likely. As a result, heavy rains over coastal and south interior Karnataka, Kerala and Mahe and Tamil Nadu in the next 2 days. And heavy rainfall very likely over Kerala and Mahe and Tamil Nadu. Puducherry and Karaikal on 15th and 16th and over south interior Karnataka also. Under the influence of lower level easterlies, fresh spell of rainfall with thunderstorm and lightning very likely over northwest India. And now a look at temperatures recorded in cities and towns across India. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News. We hope you enjoyed our show. Once again, best wishes on Vijay Dashami and Dashera from all of us here on DD India. But we'd also like to remind you that as you go out to celebrate and meet your near and dear ones, do remember that the fight against COVID is not yet over. Maintain all COVID precautions, wear a mask, maintain social distancing as much as possible, and wash your hands regularly.
Yes, indeed. Don't forget to keep following the COVID appropriate behavior, the COVID protocol, even as you celebrate. And before we end, we are also leaving you with this beautiful images coming in from Brazil. From ashes to art, Brazilian artist Mandano is using the aftermath of the country's burning Amazon to create street art in Sao Paulo and also draw attention to the environment. Before we end the breakfast show, we leave you with these beautiful glimpses coming in from there. Take a look. Have a good day ahead and a good weekend as well. Bye-bye.
Namaskar.